What's going on here then? Right, let me just sort out my window. That one there. And there we go. Just to make sure I've got everything. Right. You're out of coffee. That's no good. Kerry, thank you for joining, but yeah, you gotta have coffee. Hello, Zanka. Thanks for joining. Right, how's everybody been? I think we're gonna have a slow start to today. Looks like it. So, yeah. Psycat, hello, hello. Roly Poly Supreme Pokemon. Bloody hell, it's getting worse, I'm telling you. Yeah. I have got the Creating the Familiar Spirit workshop after this today. If anybody wants to grab that, there's nobody here at the moment to really tell, but yes. Um, yeah, that's in 3 hours' time. I love how YouTube is just changing stuff and translating it for no particular reason. Oh, weird. The truth, hello. Duke Aim seems quite interesting. I like Aim, or I pronounce Aim myself. I do like Aim for motivation, really. That's what I kind of call on Aim for. It's got a fiery nature, so really gets you going. So yeah, very interesting spirit. Sim, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Good to see you too. Right. How's everybody's week been? Interesting, I hope. And not too terrible. Better. Right. Shall we see what's coming up this coming week? I don't know about Tuesday's news thing. I do have Obsidian Veil tomorrow. If anybody wants to join that, the Obsidian Veil tier on Patreon. I am doing it early because I don't want to do it on the eclipse because I don't do magic on the eclipses. I avoid eclipses. I know a lot of people don't, but I'm more traditional that way. And I have a very good astrologer who's traditional and advises against it, so I listen to them. Let's see where's new projects. Ooh, where's we? Oh, there it is. Oh, finally sorted in the right order. Okay. Let's just do this. Psychic mantras done on eclipses are 1 million times powerful. That's interesting. Interesting, because yeah, astrology, you should avoid eclipses like hell, because they are very unpredictable, and it's the light gets stolen away from you, so there's no light there to actually do anything, and it's just everything falls into a sleep mode. Even animals, you don't hear the birds singing, you don't hear the animals in the background. They stop because it confuses the hell out of them. So yeah, traditionally we don't do eclipse stuff. You hide, you go inside and you hide from it. You said astrology regards eclipses inauspicious. Then why? Okay, now I'm confused. Why would mantras be stronger? However, for mantras, they've fructify a million times more. Oh, any specific mantras, like mantras to the moon or the sun, or is it to any? What is the new moon this month is? Any mantras. Okay. That's on Wednesday. So today, August 26th. Particularly related to the gods. Okay. Well, I'll be doing my Shiva mantra anyway. So, because I do that every day, so. But yeah, yeah. Actually, yeah, I can see that mantras would be fine because it's really action you don't want to take. It's you don't want to do anything which would draw on the power of the planets themselves, moon, sun specifically. Because as I said, the light's been shut off for a period of time, so there's nothing to actually shine. Yeah, it's on the 12th. I'm trying to see the times. It's only in the north again. Path of totality, Greenland, Iceland, small parts of Portugal, and northern and central Spain. It was in the north. I never see them, hardly see them fall here. All right. Okay. Yeah. Right. Castle. Hello. Hello. Thanks for joining. Psych out. The moon is left energy channel and sun the right. Eclipse causes flow of Kundalini through the middle pillar, through the spine. Oh, right. Okay. So what happens to the two channels on the left, the Ida and Pingala? Um, do they kind of shut down and then the flow just goes through Shushumna? James, hello. Afternoon. Oh, we talking about the eclipse? Yeah, just briefly, because I'm doing my obsidian veil ritual that I'd usually do on the dark moon or new moon, depending on how you view it. I usually do it on the dark moon, but I'm avoiding it of doing it earlier this month because of the eclipses. So I avoid doing magic on the eclipses. Ida and Pingala merge with. Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. So there's no flow up and down. It just all goes into one big channel. Okay. Hence, very potent time for mantra practice. Worth noting. Thank you very much for that. Right, what else is going on? Oh, I was going to tell you what's happening this week. Okay, hold on. Let me try and get to the program. So, tonight, after this show, is the workshop for creating familiar spirits. If you still want to get on that, just go quickly. I'm going to shut it down an hour before. I'm going to shut down bookings an hour before. So Go and book for that now if you want to do that. That's Sunday. Monday is Obsidian Veil, the ritual, live ritual. And then Tuesday is Brew and Babble, so that's just news. I'm not sure what the news is yet this week, so we'll see what happens there. Then Wednesday, where are we now? Wednesday. There's no video this Wednesday because everything's changed now because I'm doing the lives. Okay, so no video this Wednesday. If I could get into these projects, I might be able to tell you what we're doing on Thursday's Hedge and History show. We'll get there eventually. James said, I was going to ask if there was anything to avoid magically speaking. I usually do ancestor veneration, necromantic trances on the new moon. Would it be wiser to not do that with the eclipse? I would say don't do it. I've been advised, I get advised not to do anything on the eclipses. And I asked specifically about the obsidian veil ritual, which is just a purification and cleansing ritual, and I was told to do it earlier. So I'm following my astrologer's advice. Um, but it appears that you can do mantra yoga if you do mantra yoga. Because as Saikat was explaining, Idam Pingala, the two channels that go up and down, the sun and the moon, they get merged into Sushumna during that time, which is the central channel. So very auspicious time for doing mantra work or mantra yoga. Um, so there is that, but otherwise, I just generally just avoid eclipses. Traditionally, there were the times when you just stayed inside and didn't expose yourself to them, because it was very bad. So you just avoid doing magic, really. So um, Kerry said, Lee, I found a lawmaker to give me a bill next session to mandate KS hospitals use the American Academy of Neurology brain death testing guidelines. Good stuff, right? Glad that's progressing. Good stuff. Psychout 16 watching, requesting 16 likes. Congratulations. Alexis T, hello, hello. It seems Horus is excellent for neutralizing bad intended people spirits. However, who is going to save the exorcist from Horus? Yeah, I know what you mean there. Yeah, make sure if you're working with Horus, just make sure you've sorted out the offerings, the exchange beforehand, and it is sound, because otherwise he comes along and just starts taking things from you that you didn't expect. Right. Let me go into that there. Show me. Show me. Doesn't want to show me. Again. Um, second larger horse. Yeah, possibly. Um, Light Fighter, how you doing? Thank you for making the video on Marbas. My wife had a medical procedure. I was worried, so I spent the week invoking Marbas. Long story short, the procedure went great, and she is recovering. Excellent. Glad to hear it. Yeah, I think Marbas is amazing. Love Marbas. Psychout, the mantra practice should begin from the beginning of the eclipse till it's over. Some opine that mantras should commence from the middle of the eclipse when the eclipse is at its peak. Okay. Yeah, I was looking at the times. I'm trying to find out the times. I'll go have a look at an AstroSeek just now. The Thursday Hedge and History show. That's not it. Trying that again. All right. We'll get there eventually. Um, Light Fighter, Hell Lucifer, and Hell Marbas. Kerry said, Lee Murmur is rumored to arrive with trumpets. He showed me the judgment card in the Rider-Waite tarot when I asked him to help me with the brain death testing project. Well, that's significant because the Judgment Tarot has trumpets, doesn't it? As far as I remember. So yeah, that kind of ties in. And Alexis W, you're here. Hello, hello. Thanks for joining. How's everyone doing? I'm good. I think everybody else is good. All right, here we go. So this week's Hedge and History show on Thursday is about Biddy Early. She's an Irish wise woman from County Clare. Lived from 1798 to 1874. Known for blue bottle healing, divination, and her 1865 witchcraft trial. Okay, there we go. Right. Then yeah, Friday, nothing, and then we're back to Sunday. All right. Fallen Angel, hello, hello. What's your thoughts on practitioners who don't believe on possession, exorcism, marvelous healing, money magic, love magic spells, spirit working? Geez, a lot here. It's this time. It's just self-development, and that's it. If it works for them, it works for them. So there's a lot of different things there. Like we could discuss each one individually to no end. I mean, possession, for instance, we have what the Catholics and Christian people might call possession of a demon, which is usually mostly one of two things. It's usually an astral parasite or an imposter spirit comes along and acts as the demon they are naming, or it's usually a mental health issue of some kind. But at the same time, we do possession work as magicians. So we take on god forms and things like that. We allow the spirits to take over our bodies with permission. Exorcism is actually an oath. It's a form of oath binding, a form of pact that you make between entities, between spirits and yourself. Marwas healing, all the spirits, any kind of healing, any energy healing, Reiki, etc., etc. It's on its own. Anyway, all of that stuff. Anyway, so you're asking basically, what's my thought on practitioners that don't believe in this stuff? Each to their own, you know. If they don't believe it or they believe that it's just self-development, then that's fine. As long as they get to where they want to be, however, whatever road they take is up to them. I choose my road, they choose their road. Really that simple. Angelo, hello. Has anyone ever written an advanced book on corpse magic? You might find it in Agora, but probably not going to be published too openly. But so I'm not sure. Can't think of any anyway. I can't think of one that would actually be true to actual practice. A lot of people make a lot of shit up. Let's put it that way. Kerry, James sounds like him. Hang on, I think I missed one. Hold on. Oh, James said, Jack Kerry. Funny related story, I was doing some divination to contact Murmur once, and at one point the wind blew hard and the crack in my window frame tooted like a trumpet. There you go. All these little things, they're definitely signs that you have contacted the spirit themselves. Whether it's pulling a card or pulling or showing something that has trumpets on it, or but trumpets are actually trumpets and bells um, are actually one of those things that often comes along with the presence of angels. And a lot of traditions extend that into presence of various different kinds of spirits. It's not just angels. But you have this trumpet, just like an announcement that they're coming in. Um, Psycho, teach me to create an egregore that ensures equal likes by equal viewers. Sharing of such knowledge requires support. Well, that wouldn't necessarily be an egregore, that would be a servitor. There's many ways to create servitors. Luke's, hello, hello. I'm curious about your thoughts. What is your point of view when, for example, someone hypnotize someone or many people, it's like their energy comes to this hypnotist and he's more powerful? No, I wouldn't say that. It's control or it's suggestion. Hypnosis is purely suggestion. Um, I don't like, I personally don't like these hypnotist shows. You know, they do the big shows where they call loads of people up and they make them do stupid things. Don't like them at all. Hypnotism is a very powerful tool for healing. And then you get these idiots who make shows out of them and make people look like fools. So if somebody is in need, or hypnotism is actually could actually be used to help a person, they're usually afraid of it because they think the person's going to make them look like a fool. So I don't like those shows personally. But no, they don't give the hypnotist more power. It's just control through suggestion. Lifelight says, anyone had experience working with Pazuzu? I've worked with Pazuzu briefly. Can't remember who it was now. I can't remember. Somebody used to come into the chats who worked with Pazuzu quite extensively, I think. But a good energy, but a nice energy, a very protective energy. I mean, that's what Pazuzu really is a protection. Um, that's the main function of Pazuzu, really. So yeah, very protective energy. Um, Alexis W. Everyone's journey is too so different, and among that, every aspect is different too. Yeah. For example, position healing, deity invocation. There are different types of each of those. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you could view this whole question from the perspective of atheist witches. You know, when I talk about working with a spirit, they talk about working with a particular energy flow, particular current. So it's just a different worldview, really, at the end of the day. But what really counts is, does it work? If it works, then go for it. Um, zebra machine. Sorry, it's skipping a bit. Hello, hi. First time catching the live. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Where do we draw the line between the self and something exterior? It's a bit of a difficult topic. I'm assuming you're talking about like communication with a spirit. So, you kind of get these messages come through and you interpret them in a particular way because the messages coming through are usually intuition or visuals or something which is not like a solid voice that's talking to you. Yeah, that shouldn't be. Um, But yeah, so then you get these messages, these impressions and things, you've got to interpret them. So where do you draw the line when it becomes self-talking, when it becomes you instead of the entity? And it really is just boils down to practice. I know it's a pain in the arse, so many things just boil down to practice, practice, practice. The more you practice, the more you get used to it. The stronger the muscle becomes, and the easier it becomes to actually uh, see these things, and realize what's happening. And what you often find is that you are receiving communication, and at some point, if you haven't trained yourself in discernment, you wouldn't recognize it. But at some point, you switch and you realize that it's you now yourself. You're just you making stuff up or interpreting things badly or something like that. But before that, it tends to kind of flow. It's a very easy kind of flow, and then it just becomes your ego. But it really boils down to practice. That's all I can really say. Angelo, a pretty taboo subject. Is that the corpse magic? You can be, yeah. And the problem is it becomes, well, I feel anyway, it becomes very significant to particular cultures. As I say, the Agora from Hindu practices, left-hand path practices within those areas, and then it becomes we have this problem of a lot of Western people who kind of hear somebody talking about it or pick up a video or an interview or something that not many people have heard of, and all of a sudden they're like experts on the topic, and then they add a load of bullshit to it and start publishing books on it, and it's got some facts in it, but it really starts leading people down the wrong path. And those are kind of traditions that do become closed, and I mean that in the sense of you have to be initiated into them. There's no two ways about it. You cannot get the proper information unless you are initiated into them. If you're not, you get the surface level stuff, the weak stuff. And that's kind of like what the Westerners have taken and colonized and everything else. And yeah, it becomes a bit of a pain in the arse. It's Nicole Green. Hello, Nicole Green. How are you? I'm glad you caught the live. Thanks for being here. Right, Alexis W. at Fighter Zen. Personally, I'd never work with Pazuzu. I don't know, but getting not good vibes from him. But if you feel a pull, then it's a sign it will be beneficial for you. Our souls can recognize. Yeah, no, if well, with anything, if you don't feel comfortable with it, don't do it. Not all spirits are for all people. You you may, a lot of people go, oh, yeah, we work with this spirit, it's very powerful and potent and everything else, and everybody's going, oh yeah, and then you come along and it just doesn't feel right. Don't do it. It's just you don't have the same mixture. Just like you meet some people and you don't like them just from the get-go. That's just because you don't gel together. Um, Luke's exactly lately I'm researching this topic, and it can be used for doing good things and help or evil. What was that in regards to? Uh, oh, hypnotism. Yeah, yeah. I actually learned to hypnotize people when I was 16 years old. Probably not advisable, but Um, yeah, it was when I was younger, when I was like 14 or something. An old friend of mine, I was yeah, I was about 13 or 14. Austin Wood, his name was. Red hair, like bright, like ginger. Um, he was always up to some shit. And we learned how to do the Christos technique, where you put somebody into a waking dream state and you know take them into past lives and all such things. And then from there, I learned hypnotism out of a book. and I used to hypnotize my friends at 16 years old. Oh God, I was full of shit as well. But yeah, no, it can be an incredibly good and powerful tool, but it just gets abused like every other tool. You know, it's not the tool that's the problem, it's the humans using it. You know. Light Fighter Zen. When I invoke King Paimon, I usually hear some sort of loud sound or bell. Makes sense. It's really amazing. He is very powerful, and I have had lots of experiences with him. He stretches my mind. Yeah, I've never worked with Paimon. I always forget which is the Pokemon pronunciation now. But she's a very good spirit though, I must say. Carry out Zebra Machine. Discernment perhaps gained through meditation and healthy boundaries. What was that in regards to? Oh, yeah, yeah. The communication. Hira Purima. Hello, hello. Thanks for joining. If for anybody who's new here, by the way, this is just a Covenstead. If you've got any questions, there's no particular topic. We just chat. Just a load of us getting together and just chatting about stuff. Alexis W. Oh, wait. No, I think I read that. No, I didn't. Thanks for sharing. I've been curious about Paimon as he reached out recently, but don't know that much about him. Yeah, very good spirit. He's one of the ones that are always recommended to beginners. And when I say beginners, I mean somebody who has done the foundational stuff and is now moving into spirit work. Really shouldn't use the word beginners because it gets misinterpreted so often. Um, Luke's also how it is possible that water has such a powerful healing. Yesterday I just went to lake. My head and neck was in pain after a whole week of job, and 3 seconds underwater, everything disappeared. He- Water's water's fantastic for so many different things. Which is why, I mean, you've got particular areas throughout the world. You find this a lot in England, especially like the healing waters in Bath. Um, they're natural springs and things like that you go into, and they're just healing. They are there to heal you. But water carries current extremely well, so which is why it's also often considered a great um, offering tool, to your ancestors and things like that. Offer water because it holds the energy that you are putting through, you're giving to the spirits. It's just a great conductor. Um, Alexis T, a Gothic musician, occultist on YouTube, said he first worked with archangels. Then one day Archangel Michael told him to work the ego at tier 2. This proved him there is no war between angels and demons. Yeah, I agree with that. I once called, I'm sure it was Archangel Michael. I I should have actually called Raphael for the purpose I was actually looking for, but I called Michael, and she just looked at me looked at me and kind of said, "Why are you calling me? You work with Goetia spirits, and you want me to come and do this thing. Go talk to them. It's way too big, not big enough for me, kind of thing. Which is why I always think of angels as being a bit too snobby. But it's just their their own personal job description. Agatha, not Agatha. Hello. Haven't seen you in a while. Power of water. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you've seen the announcements. I have actually launched the Goetia Masterclass, Beyond the Grimoire. So that's going to start on September 20th. That's going to be I'm going to have fun with that one. I really am. If you want, I can give you all the background just now. Just let me know in the chat. I'll cover that. But let me try and get through all of this because it's piling up here today. Lovely. Alexis W. Absolutely, it's a different worldview, atheists versus witches, etc. But actually, even myself, before I realized late that channeling, for example, is a form of possession. Yes, it can be, yeah. Because channeling is really taking over kind of the vocal cords and things like that. So possession, you get different levels of possession. Some possession can just be the hand, so you start writing. You know, I once had Hecate come through and take control of my arms and on my torso, and she was like twisting in all these weird different directions to see what the body could do. Um, it got a bit uncomfortable after a while, but you know that was the possession. That was it. That's all she wanted to do. But then there's full possessions where you kind of just go off somewhere else and you sit and have a chat with the spirit while the spirit is operating through you, and talking to usually a group of people. So yeah, all different levels of possession work. Alexis, Light Fighter Zen, Alexis, King Paimon. Oh, wait, it skipped. I've lost my place now. I hate when it does this. I have to keep scrolling back to find out where I was last. Um, okay, here we go. King Paimon works a lot with me through music. For me, he likes to be called by his title. He really loves Lucifer. He provides lots of knowledge and surprisingly can be used for baneful. Luke's, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to skip some of these today because it's a lot of chatting. It hasn't been like this before. It's great. I felt pull for this, and I was so surprised it worked stronger than before. Loretz, hello Loretz. Just wanted to say thank you for sharing your knowledge and being genuine. Absolute pleasure. So much rubbish out there. Really appreciate your content, especially when you speak about plant magic. Absolute pleasure. Thanks for being here. Um, Alexis W. At Life Fighters Ending. His title, that is King Paimon, correct, so him and Lucifer is true. Okay. At Agatha, story of modern occult publishing. Add AI that's now been poisoned with made up crap, and voila, anti discernment brigade. Oh, God, yeah. It's not just AI, trust me. It's been going on long before that. Oh. It's the people, it's the people, the humans, and those are the things that are feeding the AI to begin with. So blame the people. Um, Zebra machine at Kerry thinks I'm dabbling in those waters. I meant baneful magic. He works really fast for me and calls me. I am not sure why, but the spirits sometimes do that. The first time I gave him an apple offering, he literally opened my front door. The truth, the other people trying to work with all 72 integration like it's a speed run. Yeah, I know. Some of the kings I work with have told me there is no cheating or shortcuts with the spiritual or gnosis. Absolutely, yeah. And I'm not one of the people who has ever or probably will ever try and work with all 72 spirits because I have absolutely no reason to do so. There's just so many aspects within their offices that I have absolutely no use for. So I've got no reason to work with loads of them, which is why I feel anyway, these particular spirits, and this, I don't feel this extends as much to other grimoires, but this particular grimoire with these 72 spirits seem to be a group that are they kind of work on their own. I always kind of view them as like this bike gang, with their jackets and everything else on with the emblem of their gang on the back. I don't know why, I just always seen like that. But if you're in the gang, you're in the gang. If you get rejected by the gang, don't try and push it, type of thing. And you might work with three, four, five of them for particular things and aspects of your life. Um, but if you need to work with somebody you haven't worked with previously, just for one thing that's happening, you're kind of like part of the family. So it's not like you have to go through this whole introduction and everything else. You get introduced by the ones you have a relationship with. They take you and say, "Hey, this is such and such. He or she or they need help with something. Can you help them?" And it's kind of it's the way it seems to work with me anyway. So I'm sure it works like that for a lot of people. Luke starts sharing is a real learning discernment between me and thee. Alexis T. Well, record of people who see the live. Yeah, what is it up to today? 24. That's it's been there before. Everyone is very chatty today. I think that's why it looks so different. That's very cool. Um, I think Lucifer, Azazel, and Paimon are BFFs. Quite possibly. Lowton. Hello, Lowton. A lot of water talk today. Is Neptune's influence in sway or something? Possibly. I've been feeling watery a lot these last few weeks as well. How's your water thing going? That's probably why you've been feeling watery. Um, Carry out every machine. I've found that they mostly communicate through clear knowing. That's going to differ from person to person. Some people have clear cognizance, other people don't. Depends on their kind of natural gifts and gifts that they've developed. Um, as well. Layer 9 abstraction. Hello. Thanks for joining. I was wondering if people knew of Shem angels or goetic demons that are great for career stagnation. I'm assuming you mean you want to get your career going. I'll have a look over here. Right, so let's see. Spirits for promotions and positions of power would be Belial. Agaras. Ask Kerry about Agaras. Agaras. She was very closely with Agaras, and I think, yeah, from what she's experienced, probably yes, absolutely. Um, Verrier as well, and Paimon. We've been talking about Paimon a lot. Paimon, he can assist a practitioner in becoming a great ascendant leader, influential person, or highly trusted advisor. For job seeking and networking, you can look at Valak, Simajez, Kimajez, Kimayez, Oriens as well for new beginnings. For business and financial career growth, Klornek, Mammon, Belfagor. Um, yeah, and then for skill mastery and leadership, it's not really what you're looking for, but Vapula, Halfas, Osei, and Dramanik. But yeah, I think Paimon is actually probably Paimon and Agaras. I think would be good for you, most probably. I would actually personally add, we were talking about aim at the very beginning of our chat today. Um, Aim is kind of like that one that kind of is fire energy that kind of pushes things forward, gives it a good boost. If that's what you're looking for. Um, Fallen Angel, Life Fighters, and what spirit you work with? I think that was talking about Paimon in that regard, working with Paimon for baneful work. Um, it's Nicole Green again. Hello. Lilith and Lucifer's Raphael seem aligned to me. Has anyone been working with them simultaneously? I don't. I work with either of them actually. So we'll see if anybody has replied to that. Castle, sometimes saw a river on my dreams at Lowton. Okay, maybe. Think of Hades and the Mirror of Truth. At Light Fighters then at Fallen Angel for Baneful and Protection work with Azazel, Paimon, Belial, Glacia Labalos, and of course the mighty Andras. Andras is a good one there, yeah. Loretz, I wanted to ask, what are your thoughts on attachments to various gods and goddesses? I myself have really deep emotional ties to the Norse gods and Odin, and other spirits of my ancestry. Um, I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. I mean, that's devotional work, and well, not we all, many of us do devotional work to the deities, you know. So nothing wrong with that, unless I'm misunderstanding your question. Um, it's skipped again. Hold on. Every now and again, it kind of skips all the way down to the bottom of the chat, and I've got to scroll all the way back up again to find out where I was. Yeah, here we are. Then Agatha, you know I'm interested in that class. All right, so let me quickly explain seeing that there's lots of people here today. I'll use it as a good advertising platform. So, Beyond the Grimoire, a practical Goetia masterclass, which is now on my website. If you go there, you can book it under masterclasses. So, it's a 4-month masterclass. We meet once a month for however long it takes. Each kind of presentation is going to be about 2 hours long each month, and then we'll have a Q&A after that for however long people ask questions for. So really prepare yourself for about, well, at least 2 hours. Um, so we're going to meet on Zoom once a month. Then the first month we cover history, and we go into the very basic introduction, right? So just working with sigils, sigil gazing, and enchanting. I know not everybody um, agrees with the ends and things like that. That's fine. You don't have to do the enchanting. You can gaze at the sigil and just repeat the name, for instance. Okay, but I've found that the ends work regardless of what the source is. They work for me anyway. So it's a very basic starting point, okay? And then month 2, we are going into looking at the construction of the grimoire itself. The circle, the tools that we use, specifically the triangle of art, and all such things, why they were used, but also have a look at the methods, which became very abrasive, became very threatening, and things like that. um, the misconceptions, all of that stuff. So then we start looking at the tools themselves, and then we introduce ourselves to scrying and effigy and soulment, basically. Working with a spirit box or a spirit vessel or something like that, and souling the vessel with the energy of the spirit from the Goetia. But also just doing some scrying, the different devices that we can use for scrying, and the different results that they get. and which ones you might actually want to use for which purpose. Month three, we're then going into kind of a more serious invoc or evocation. It's the Vocatio Australis method that I created alongside the spirits themselves. So it's a very kind of layered thing where we start off creating a sacred space, an actual working space. Um, then well, I kind of included the headless one, right? So you kind of connect with divinity through your holy guardian angel, call down the holy guardian angel through that method. Then we align with the planets themselves. So each spirit, according to the Golden Dawn method, each spirit is associated with a particular decan. Okay, or two are associated with a decan, day spirit and night spirit. So the decan aligns with particular planetary energy. So what we do is we align ourselves with the planetary energy through a method that was spoken about in Denning and Phillips' book, Aurum Solis method of actually enveloping ourselves with planetary power, but then also vibrating the god name of the sphere that or aligns and is associated with that particular planet. So you open up the gate for the planet. Um, then we call the decan, and then I've kind of taken what's the name, Paul Hewson's method of working with the Goetic spirits. The one he spoke about working with Vasigo in his book Mastering Witchcraft. So taking that method and it's not the same, but it's similar. Where you walk around three times and you present the sigil at the point each time, and you call on the spirit. Okay, ask the spirit to come in. That's the Goetic spirit, all right. And then that whole thing as well has a particular alignment thing where you're aligning yourself with the decan. You actually become part of the triangle of art. You do not put it outside the circle. It's inside the circle, and you become part of it. So you become an actual physical aspect of the working itself. And that's got this whole I'm not going to explain everything now, but it's got this whole alignment thing where you're actually aligning back to back with the other world where the spirit is and all such things, right? So we're all going into that anyway. That's month three. Um, then month four is kind of like the closing month, but I'm going to speak about different other methods. I'm going to speak about working or communication with the spirit through your astral temple. I'm going to talk about opening gates to the actual quarters themselves, where you can then step through into the spirit's realm, or you can bring that energy of the spirit into where you're working and add it to your workings. So kind of different methods that you could then go off and do. And obviously with the masterclasses, you get connected with, you can join, there's three groups I've got: Signal, I've got on Discord, and I've got on Facebook. Depending on what's convenient for you, you can join one of them or multiple of them, and you can ask questions in there. And you're connected to the masterclasses for lifetime. So if you want to take it again on the next repetition, you can do, etc., etc., etc. So that's the Goetic masterclass. If anybody wants to join that, as I said, I'm going to have loads and loads of fun with that one. That's going to be fantastic. All right, carrying on with the chat now because it's really piled up. Michael, I should actually take that what I just spoke about and make it into a video during the week, I think. Gonna have to cut it out. Um, Michael Haley, I've consistently found that demons will sow lots of chaos and turmoil initially to serve greater long-term growth. While they mean well, it can be painful at first. Is this your experience? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I wouldn't put it that way myself, but I do understand what you're talking about. What's generally happening there is you want to get from point A to point B. In order to get to point B, there's a lot of shit you've got to clear out because depending on what your life is like, so some people they breeze through it because it's already sorted out. Other people they're going in a direction which is completely opposed to where they want to get to. So what generally happens is you have to completely rearrange everything in your life. And there's sometimes a lot of people that need to be removed. There's a lot of habits that need to be removed. All of this stuff, and yes, it can be extremely chaotic and extremely tumultuous because of this huge, huge shift that happens in order for you to get to point B. So that's what the spirits end up doing. You've asked them to get you there, you know, they will do whatever is necessary to get you there because you've asked. And that can be an extremely painful process. That's really what it is. Um, Lowton at Castle, specifically what. I'm going to try and skip through some of these, otherwise, we're going to be here for a very long time. Kerry Lee, Redditors have been spreading fear of the demons, and I had to remind them that I am the witch. They fear me. Good stuff. You have to be the most terrifying one in the room. What was it? Pratchett said, if you walk through the forest at night, you've got to be the most terrifying thing in the forest. Yeah. Why are people? I'm assuming they're spreading these rumors on the actual demonology Reddits, subreddits, which sounds a bit weird. Um, Fallen Angel, what did they cut over for? Curse. Okay. Lowton, went through very strongly in my dreams. Castle. Cthulhu, hello, hello. What's your thoughts on the Lion's Gate portal? It is totally new age. It actually, the actual specific Lion's Gate aligning with 8th of August was first mentioned in 1998. Before that, it didn't exist. It's totally new age stuff. Um, People are still carrying on. They're still, they use it for manifestation. That's fine. Let them, you know. If it's working for them, it's working for them. If it's real or not, doesn't matter. As long as they're getting the results, I suppose. But seriously, the problem I'm finding, although I do agree with if it works, use it. The problem is if we put enough bullshit out there, all that's going to eventually come back is just a load of bullshit. And that's my fear. That's my worry, which is why I'd rather kind of, it doesn't matter if millions of people are believing in something and therefore it's creating this particular energy flow and current which is taking them in that direction. Fantastic. But then understand it to be an egregore. It's got nothing to do with astrology then. It's got nothing to do with the alignment of this thing and that thing in Egypt. It's just a load of bullshit. So, name it for what it really is. Don't make it seem ancient and therefore it's more powerful, and all this crap. It's so yeah, I have big problems with that. But anyway, Fallen Angel, Light Fighter Zen. I mean, prison not jail. Light Fighter Zen. Experience. I can say those animals. It has made me want to try and draw it. We'll get artwork of it done. But yeah, water's been very strong with me recently. Alexis, part of the family. Makes sense. I never thought of it this way. Yeah, yeah. The Goetic spirits. Good for us. Though, as in every family, some members don't get along. That absolutely. As I said, I don't get along with horrors. We don't get along, and there's probably other spirits in the family that I probably don't get along with. I haven't really paid mind to or had need to or need of. So yeah. Loretz, you got to build relationships with entities and sink time and effort into them. Make the effort to thank them. Some spirits know your soul and will be connected to you anyway. Absolutely. Um, by the way, I see 66 a lot. Any thoughts? Not really, no. Um, I'm not into the. A lot of people kind of associate that kind of thing with the angel numbers and whatnot. Maybe it's has significance. If you've actually done something and you've asked for an omen, which is very specifically show me the number 66, in order to confirm something or whatever it is, then yeah, sure, it's going to have some ground, some importance to it. But otherwise, I don't think there's much importance to it unless it does. Do some divination. It's always the answer, if you're not sure about something, just do some divination. Find out if it actually has some basis to it, you know. Um, Castle at Lotion can draw your emotions. I would have it draw might help. Yeah. Like I said, true animals are so pure. Hecate sounds an amazing spirit, and perhaps I should say goddess in her own right. Many work with Lilith as my infernal divine feminine goddess. Here and I very tight. Yeah, Hecate is a very interesting goddess, I must say. Alexis T at Loret's. Personally, I take seeing 66 as focusing on love and relationships with others. It's a good number. There you go. There's one interpretation. Love and relationships. Fallen Angel. Um, but also it's Alexis W also said it can have other interpretations too, as many other things can. This is a bit like dream interpretation, and it's why a lot of people kind of advise making your own dream journal. Don't rely on um, standard dream journals because firstly, there's a cultural aspect involved. Um, Particular symbolism in one culture has different meaning in another culture, right? Then you've got the typical example from, I think it was Scott Cunningham's book about dream oracles or something. Um, the typical example there was two men, dream of marriage. Okay. Now, person A has just gotten married, is in absolute bliss, is still on their honeymoon, and therefore it has a lot of positive things associated with it, right? Person B is going through a hellish divorce, and therefore dreaming of marriage would have a completely different interpretation. So you can't rely on these dream dictionaries, right? You have to make your own dream dictionary. And it's very similar here, symbolisms that come up. There are some common symbolisms, and again, they often are culturally based. Um, but you kind of have to work through your interpretations that way. Um, right, where am I? Probably so. Layer 9 abstraction. Thanks, I'll dig more into Belial, Agaras, and Pemon. Good stuff. Agatha, not Agatha. Hayal, that one. Shame Angel for helping boosting emotional intelligence and motivation and success. Okay. Skipped. Bloody hell, we've got to go all the way back again. Here we go. Okay, not too bad this time. Alexis W. at Night Fighters then. I had some experiences with Lilith recently, but not sure. In your experience, is Lilith connected strongly with the element water or emotions? If I may ask, I've had so many spirits. This is why I never get tired of Goetia and the Infernal. It's a never-ending knowledge fest. Oh yeah, any tradition really, just never-ending. When you look at the Celtic tradition, there's like over 3,000 gods and goddesses. Um, Kerry Goris is awesome. He knocks on walls and turns off lights. For you, yeah. For other people, it might freak them out too much, so I'm sure he'll hold back a bit. Um, Agatha, ready, aim, fire. Spelling. Yeah, no, it's the right spelling as well. I tend to pronounce it aim myself, but it is spelled aim like that, A-I-M. Yeah, but that's actually perfect. Perfect for that spirit, yeah. Light Fighter Zen, she has so many aspects it's hard to pin down. I can only tell you what I've experienced. You compare her with Asmodeus or Azazel. Castle, reclaiming your power, becoming a dragon to guard your treasure and knowledge. At low 10, I'm happy for you. Light Fighters in this class sounds awesome. Wish I had the time to attend. Yeah. What I might do, yeah, specifically with this masterclass, I don't know if I will. But I might record it and put it out as a on-demand video or something like that. I don't know. I might do, I might not. I feel these masterclasses need to be more kind of personal. And if you kind of put it out there as a on-demand video, people don't ask questions. They just watch it and that's it. Um, but the masterclasses are very getting into the nitty-gritty of stuff, really. So I'd rather leave it like that. At Lowton, Castle, yeah. Associated with Alexis, what's your opinion about copying rituals step by step by witchcraft books, or do you make your own spells and craft? I wonder if it's best to follow others or just completely play freely. I think it's very important to go verbatim with rituals in books that other people have done before you, especially if they're rituals that lots of other people have done before you, because then it kind of holds an energy current, like a flow to it. It's kind of like, I remember years ago with my old Kabbalah teacher. Um, I was talking about, moving the angels, the archangels into different positions and going in a different flow around, creating the circle, the sacred space, and all of this stuff. And one of the things he actually said to me, which made absolute sense, was that we work these rituals that are centuries old, or might be centuries old, depending on which one it is, because thousands and thousands of people have worked that ritual the same way for a very long time, and they've all put their energy into it, right? So it almost creates its own, it's like an egregore. Thousands and thousands of people have put their energy into this one thing. This is particularly just a ritual that you're doing. And so it holds a lot of power. So when you come along and you do that ritual, you are tapping into those thousands of people before you. It's like tapping into ancestors. So these are all the ancestors that have done that ritual that you're now doing. They've put all their power into it. And so you do the ritual, you tap into that power. Okay. And the more you do that ritual, you stop thinking less about the actual motions and the words, and you start thinking, or not even thinking, but you start flowing with the actual energy of the ritual itself. And then you really tap into the thousands and thousands and millions of people before you that have done that. So that is a very good approach. If it's a ritual or a spell working or something like that, that is just like, a new thing, then do it the way the person's described it, because then you start understanding why they did it, and the reasons for all the tools and the reasons for the process, the charm they may have used, all of this stuff. And then once you understand all of that, then you can start working on your own, you know, constructing your own rituals, constructing your own spell workings and all of that stuff. But it's good to copy what somebody has done before you, so that you can understand why and how everything's working. Okay. Carry on. Initiative, Castle, Reddit is always a problem. Reddit never used to be a problem. I've heard a lot of people complaining about it lately, though. Light Fighters Zen. This is why you take your time with these spirits. This is not a fast get rich quick scheme. It's taken me 5 long years, but has been worth it, and I have many more years to go. Yep, absolutely. Loretz, I suspect the Christian God to be an egregore. Yes. Most of what is in the Bible is not what Jesus actually said at all, and I feel that because it has prophets, it is man-made and manufactured. Yep. I'm also recovering from surgery and wanted to thank you for your company, as this live stream is some of the only socializing I've done all day, as I am bedridden. Ah, well, I hope the surgery went well, and hope your recovery is absolutely amazing. Glad we could be here for it. Yeah, but the Christian God is an egregore, absolutely. And you know, I don't think if Jesus had his second coming and he came back to Earth, he would be absolutely disgusted with what people are doing in his name. Really, it's terrible. I feel for the guy, really do. Um, Kerry, they help me with projects. Garas is helping me to get an insanity defense. Murmur is getting legislation for brain death testing. Marbas and Buer helped in crisis, but don't ask for favors. Yeah, that's how it works. But you've got a relationship with them. That's the main thing. Get rid of Sue, Kerry. I consider the Christian God a daimon who thinks themselves very important. So yeah, I think if you go back a bit further, you have got the Gnostic approach to this, where Yaldabaoth is this spirit that thinks he created the entire universe, but didn't actually, just created Earth as a prison. But he's like the bratty little child, really. But then you've got the when the Egyptians were going through the desert, they probably picked up a jinn, a desert spirit, and they gave him a home in the ark, and they carried him out of the desert, and he was trapped in the desert. Now he's not trapped in the desert, but that was before Christianity came along, and then Christianity comes along and became something else. But now in our modern era, it's just become something completely and utterly different. The God that people are praying to is not the God of the Hebrews, definitely not the God of the Hebrews, and probably not the Catholics. I would say are different. That may be changing as well. Uh, Everything is just becoming more commercialized and all that shit. So yeah, it just becomes a whole big mess. Um, yeah, Agatha, not Agatha. Agatha. There you go. I was dreaming about crows. Woke up. Crows were cawing outside my window. I was awakening. That happens. Yeah. Um, it's a bit like if you've got like a drip in your bathroom or something, you'll probably start dreaming of it. And it starts to bleed into your dream because it's there in the background. Yeah. Jahed, hello, hello. Could you please talk about Asmodeus? Which themes are related to him and your experiences? I'm a beginner and think about using a black obsidian ball for scrying. Do you have any advice for that? Right, so Asmodeus is very much aligned with the gaining of power. Serious, serious power. This is the blow your enemies out of the sky and across the waters kind of power. and can be very disorienting if you are not used to that kind of thing. So as a beginner, you might want to just take this very, very slowly. Um, Now, Asmodeus is also associated with as being a lust demon, and I do think that the lust demon aspect and the bringing of power go hand in hand. I don't think in this particular situation the lust aspect has to do with getting your rocks on, or having a one night stand or something like that. That's more Citri's area. This is about this. This is lust, and you feel it. You strongly feel it. It flows through your groin like nothing on earth. You walk through public, and all of a sudden you've got eyes on you. Um, Everybody's just watching you and looking at you lustfully. If you've done this right, of course. Um, and but that lust is the power, and that power is used to control people, and that comes with a boatload of responsibility. So you want to be very careful with Asmodeus. It's he's a great spirit, but can be kind of tricky. Um, and it annoys me when I see. I'm coming back to Reddit. Actually, I see it a lot on Reddit when you see these. It's almost like teeny boppers. I don't know. It's the only way I can describe them. They draw these pictures of Asmodeus with these hearts and cute little things. And I saw one the other day where the person had done an AI picture of her being held and cuddled by Asmodeus. Like, well, fucking hell, if you really knew what the fuck you're doing, you wouldn't be drawing things like that. But yeah, it's just another completely different direction. Then the Black Obsidian Ball. I would actually use a scrying if you instead of ball, get a disc. Um, all my stuff's over there. I can't reach it from here. Get a disc. In fact, Black Mirror often works best here because what you want to try and do is actually look at yourself in the mirror. So you've got your reflection, and then you that kind of blanks out, and then the spirit's face comes in. Or you start going in the hypnagogic state and you start just receiving a load of communication, depending on your own seer ability, really. But I would actually use a black mirror or an obsidian disc rather than at a ball. Right, so Alexis at Agatha, such blessing, crows and ravens, even on their own, no deity connection, are very powerful animal spirits, ways and transformative. Yep, everyone's putting their energy and intention tapping into their collective ancestors. This is powerful. Thank you for explaining. It's a pleasure. Yeah, it really is. It's advice that I got from one of my teachers, and I thought it was really, really sound, good advice. I still carried on to pursuing my own, trying to construct my own ritual because I thought I was the Pumbaa of ritual magic, and I knew exactly what I was doing. I was just a little child. Um, So yeah, no, his advice was brilliant. Really was. All right, Kerry, you mentioned ancestors. Walking, I'm listening to a deeper way. Suddenly, my ancestors are behind me. Be still, they say. Listen, you are the result of the love of thousands. Linda Hogan. That's an excellent quote. Yeah, I like that. That's really good and very true. Yeah, you are the result of the love of thousands. Love it. Um, Castle to hedge could use obsidian ball with Tesla. I can see what other use obsidian. Light fighters and sometimes I lie in bed and draw these sigils over and over again and just stare. Yeah, if you can actually, if you're putting in a lot of work, as far as energy work go, actually working ritual where you're drawing like you're working through thelemic rituals or the Golden Door rituals, the LBRP and the LIRP and the greater rituals of the pentagram, and then you get into the hexagram rituals. all of those rituals. But if you know, even early on doing the LBRP, or the invoking ritual pentagram, you draw the pentagrams in front of you, right, with energy. And you can get to the point where you do this, you see the energy with your eyes, not just mentally or anything like that. You see it. You see the energy floating in the air in front of you. Okay. So if you can get to the point where you can do that, then you draw the sigils for whatever it is. It can be a spirit. It can be, you can do this with sigil magic. You draw them in the sky or the air in front of you, and it lingers there and it floats, and then you can breathe it in or push it away or send it to its target, whatever you're trying to achieve, right? Just let your imagination run wild there. But yeah, you know, you are formulating this thing as energy flow. So why not? Um, Light fighters and the curves and lines are amazing to watch. You'll probably find they also start pulsing and things like that. Loretz, oh my goodness, I never even considered Yellowbath was a Jinn. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if you. I think from a Gnostic perspective, they probably wouldn't consider Yaldabaoth to be a Jinn, but that is one interpretation. That the the god that was taken out of the desert was an actual desert spirit, a Jinn. Um, but yeah, that could change everything. Yeah. Uh, Castle, at your head, the obsidian butterfly. She also uses that. Oops. Castle, do you work with that one? Can you talk about your experience? Also, lust in the sense of desire, in the sense of doing what you love. Yeah, yeah. That's one way of looking at it. Um, I think, you know, we kind of talk about lust and it's this fun kind of feeling. When it comes to Asmodeus, it's a lot bigger than, you know, kind of like fun sexual experiences. This is lust. You know, we talk about lust for life. Um, Sometimes to the point where it becomes um, something that cannot be done without. You have to have it or you cannot live, kind of thing. That kind of that kind of lust. Um, it's just it's really really big. So be prepared. Psychiat kindly explains some of the responsibilities associated with the power and lust bestowed by Lord Asmodeus. Um, the responsibilities would be how you treat people, really. If you consider that you may be given the power to control anybody, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to harm them? Are you going to help them? Are you going to get what you want without destroying their lives? Because a lot of people, well, they don't care. They get that kind of power and they'll just plow on through, you know? It doesn't matter who they kill or disrupt or disturb or destroy. They don't care as long as they get to where they want to go, you know? And that's the responsibility you're talking about there, you know? If you do get a lot of power in your life, how are you going to use that? That's the responsibility. Lifefighter says, thank you for putting on the lively. I have to go. Have a good one. Cheerio. Probably gone already. Have an awesome day. The community rocks. Yeah, we do. We definitely rock. Castle, I do work with. I'm going to try and say it. Huitzilopochtli, that one. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's between them. Oops, let's get hold on again. No, it didn't. Right. Ah, okay, here we go. Castle at your head. Which one calls to you the most? Um, Phineas. Hello, Phineas. Good morning, evening. Thanks for joining. Kerry at like 5 cent. Have a good day, Castle. He's like grandfather's son. Your head. He's got a golden light. And crap bites here. Hello, crap bite. This time it's not my fault for being late. I was waiting, but YouTube didn't show the red button. Oh no, YouTube's kind of useless. Um, Sometimes it does the right thing, and sometimes it just doesn't. Um, Castle. He brings happiness to me. Said, okay, right, isn't right. God, we got to the end of all that. That was quite intense. I did enjoy that. We've got a lot of people here today. It's cool. Right, so we've got half an hour left. Andrea's here. Hello, Andrea. How have you been? How's the kittens? Um, yeah. Thank you. Thank the roly poly exalted holy master. Absolute pleasure. Um, there we go. Let's get rid of all this stuff. Okay. Andrea, Inky and Sparks are doing very really well, and the new letter is still not here yet. Oh goodness. Okay. Yeah, I remember when we used to do a lot of kitten breeding. Sometimes they can take a long time. Just when you think it's time, nope, not yet. The truth. Do you think it is necessary to work within different planetary spheres of influence, or can someone do good well if they focus on a specific sphere like the Sun, Moon, Venus, Mercury, etc.? Oh, I think you should actually, at least in the beginning, is pick up a planetary influence and work with that one. Um, this can often tie into what's going on with your natal chart, though. Which planets are benefic, which planets are malefic, to you specifically. And then what you do is you appease, make offerings to those planets. Um, so it gives you a good guide of which ones to work with. But if you want, just generally speaking, pick one that you want in your life, and then work with that. Get to know it. Again, it's like this. It's the same as any kind of spirit influence is build a relationship with that particular power. Um, and then if you want to bring in, start working with another one, then work with another one. What I wouldn't do though is mix them. Um, There are situations where you can kind of mix the influences, like if you want to work uh, at a particular planetary day and a different planetary hour, you can mix the influences together, but you got to be very careful about what you're mixing, and quite often that does start to rely on what's happening astrologically at the time as well. You might think that I want passionate love, therefore I'm going to work during a Venus hour on a Tuesday, which is Mars, and that will bring in passionate love. But you might find that there's something going on astrologically, which is causing Venus to just not be there. The energy is just not flowing from Venus, and therefore all you're getting is Mars, and it becomes arguments and fights and everything else. So you've got to be careful with that kind of mixing and stuff like that. It's Nicole Green. What do you think about the mechanics of stepping into the energy of a particular spirit as a mode of self-transformation? I think it's exactly what we do. My understanding of the way I explain this personally is that if we let's take just your basic enchanting, for instance, when you're working with a daimon, and this can apply to gods and goddesses and all sorts of spirits. But enchanting is a modern thing, and it's quite an easy thing to approach. But what you're doing is you're repeating the chant over and over and over again. Okay, and this starts to call in that energy because that energy notices you, you're trying to attract it, and therefore you pull that power towards you. And you vibrate at this particular frequency, that spirit vibrates at this particular frequency. But you want to align at the same frequency as the spirit in order to achieve a goal, right? So what happens is you pull that power in, you let it encompass you, and then you start to resonate at the same frequency. And therefore then you can go, you add that into your magic and you do whatever you need to do. At some stage during the recent history of witchcraft, we may have called this petitioning. Excuse me, my nose is a bit blocked. Let me try and say that again. Petitioning. There we go, got it out. And with petitioning, what we used to do was we just used to call the spirit into our space. It was an evocation. And then we used to ask the spirit to add their power to the magic. And that's really the same thing. But self-transformation, yes, absolutely. This is very similar. This is devotional work. This is bhakti yoga, where you are devoting yourself to a particular spirit, a particular power, and you start to take on that God form through devotion. And that becomes, again, self-transformation. So yes, absolutely. Um, The truth. Mars and Saturn are malefic to me, according to my Vedic astrology chart, at least. Then you might want to work with those two. I mean, Mars and Saturn are malefic to begin with. They are the two planets that So if you got them malefic in your chart, you might want to work with them. Yeah. So yeah. Um. Right, Phileas. Trace the Hebrew name Hallel with its appropriate Hebrew letters on a rose cross, and it just looks like an L. L for Lucifer, no, but in all seriousness, it's nice to include Lucifer in. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Um, Although you do need to bear in mind that the Hallel within Isaiah was not actually Lucifer. It was talking about what's his name? King Nebuchadnezzar. But that's just a mistranslation that got stuck with Hillel becoming Lucifer. Because, wait, hold on. Uh, it was Hillel, got translated into the Greek as phosphorus, and then the dude, whatever his name was, don't think it was Origin, but it might have been Origin. Anyway, the dude who was supposed to translate into Latin was supposed to translate from the original Hebrew, but there was no translation for Hillel, so he just took phosphorus from the Greek and just made it Lucifer, which is the way it all got mixed up. Um, Alexis T. Each person has a corresponding Shem angel according to our birthday and an archangel above him, so it might be a good idea to establish a relationship with them. This is getting into some areas of Hermetic Kabbalah which are not based in history, unfortunately. Um, the Shem angels that the Golden Dawn and previously, I think it was Dr. Rudd, went back to the 1500s. That was just again, it was an interpretation of the 72 names of God. I mean, Shem Hamfresh wasn't even 72 names, it was the ineffable name or the explicit name. And the word wasn't just one, it wasn't just Hashem or what we consider to be the ineffable name. There were a few of them actually, but it wasn't the 72. That just got later, became this other thing. Um, so the 72 names of God was a very specific thing, and they weren't even considered to be angels then. It's become a modern, and when I say modern, in this particular circumstance, we're going back, hundreds of years, as in modern, but it's uh, it's a modern interpretation, really, of what went on. But we do have natal genius, which is not the shaman angels or anything like that. It's very its own specific name, um, but not as easy to get to as you might think it is. If you do want to find out your natal genius, I'm going to do some really good advertising. Then get hold of my friend Rev Kai. Go to revkai.com and book some astrological readings with them. They are, as far as I'm aware, there are only 6 people in the world who can properly determine the name of your natal genius in the manner of Agrippa, and they are one of them. So if you want to know, with no guesswork or anything like that, no downloading of silly little Excel charts that you put in information and it spits out some name for you. If you really want to know, then go and hire Rev Kai. Andrea, since we're not 100% sure how far along she is either eek, we are waiting and watching. We thought last Sunday was the day, but she will have them when she is ready. Yeah, yeah. Happens all the time. When they're ready, not when you're ready. Lorette's gonna go, oh, okay, have a good. You've gone by now, but cheerio, Lorette. Thanks for joining. Um, oops, wait, hold on. I've skipped again. Castle. Okay, let's stall that conversation. You guys carry on. Alexis W and Alexis T. I like when you guys talk, it's funny. The same as a guardian angel or watching over. I had recently a reading session with a supposedly experienced psychic, and he said I had no archangel or angel spirit guardian. Sounds very new agey, actually. We do have, as I said, we've got a natal genius, we've got a holy guardian angel. They seem to appear in various cultures under different names and terms. Fetch Mate and Fetch Beast, Nefesh and Neshima, um, Fey Companion, all those things. But the natal genius tends to be the teacher. It's more like the well, sometimes it's the guide and guardian um, that takes you to the one under other worlds and things like that. But it's usually your teacher. A lot of people have considered to be the daimon. From the Greek perspective, especially Socrates spoke of the eudaimon that would sit on his shoulder and direct him. That kind of thing. uh, Castle. Yes, you can. Let's have a read. Um, the truth. Yeah, I don't find it will work to try to work with spirits based on birthday. According to my birthday, Belial would be my guide, and while I respect King Belial, he isn't a spirit I'm close to. Yeah, a lot of people kind of do that, and that is, I think, is a bit of a misinterpretation of what the Golden Dawn put across. They don't even. I mean, I work with the Decans and those particular dates as well in my workings, but really what they did, it was just a modern interpretation. Again, coming back to like the shame angels, for instance, it's a modern interpretation. A lot of people work with it. It works for a lot of people, but it still is a modern interpretation of things. But the problem there is that you've got the decans, which align with two of the Goetic spirits, right, going through. So you've got 72 spirits. There's a day and a night spirit for each of the decans. There's 36 decans, right? And what happened was because the decans are associated with particular um, degrees within the zodiac signs that then aligns to particular dates because you can astrologically align to the calendar itself. And then what people think is that because there's a date associated with the spirit, it has to do with their birthday. It's got nothing to do with that at all. Absolutely nothing. They're two very separate things. So people have just decided that that would be fun, so they're going to do it. Okay, I think it's mind blowing that Belial is the angel of darkness. Oh yeah, he is a. So I also see Belial as the Forge Master, the very similar to Azazel really. One of the Lightbringers, but more phonic than the angelic aspects or the celestial aspects. Oh, um, Andrea and Alexis, I think the psychic you saw is experienced in ripping people off. There is that. Um, Loads and fun facts. There are 7 names from Moab that are theophoric names for Chemosh, such as Chamos Ur, Chamos Dan, and Chamos Natan. Um, if those sound familiar, that's because those are the same names as Uriel, Daniel, and Nathaniel. Interesting. Thank you for that little nugget. We've all skipped again. Okay, here we go. The truth that Kerry, not surprising or Belial, is very powerful spirit and very intense and dark energy. Otan suggesting Chemosh might not or might have had his own equivalent of angels. Possible, yeah. It's Nicole Green. It's an interesting position to be in regarding the Western magical tradition. I'm clearly part of the tradition, but de-Abramizing my practice leaves some interesting questions. Oh, yes, absolutely. Because being immersed in the Western magical tradition or mystery tradition, it's Christianity is part of it. It's a huge part of it. So you can't really do that completely. You know, if you do want to do it completely, um, then you have to start looking at older pre-Christian religions and spiritual practices throughout Europe and things like that. But that was before the Romans decided to blast their way through Europe and whatnot. So it's difficult to get information about that unless you go and talk to your ancestors. You know, so far back into your ancestral line that you can talk to them and bring practices through that they may have done, beliefs and all such things. Lexus W. Um, no archangels like me, sad face. Don't feel, don't be so sad. It's the archangels are big, powerful things that don't really care too much for humans. Well, I know a lot of people do work with the archangels, but I think it's a bit of a different story that. Your head, how come you? Oh, that's it. Castle. Andrea Alexis. I bet his next thing would have been he's going to get you a guide for the cheap price of £100,000. Yeah, or going to remove your ancestral curse. That's usually the one. They come and they get into your inbox. So you have an ancestral curse. I can get rid of it for this amount of money. Yeah. Carry out truth. Belial taught me how to note divine guidance in the tarot. Waite designed it around the Hebrew alphabet and Yod. The 10th letter hints at divine insight. Um, Alexis de-Abrahamizing. Well said, love this word. Yeah, it is a good word. The truth. So Belial. I'm glad you guys are talking to each other in the chat because that's really what this is about, community. Um, it's happening more and more. I'm just gonna have to start sifting through it. Alexis T. Honestly, I found that my corresponding Shem angel and my angel Hamuel have traits similar to mine. Okay, maybe it's not terribly accurate, but I actually bought it. So as I said, it's it's a modern interpretation, but there are lots and lots of people who are following it. So yeah, it's just not something I ascribe to myself because of my teachers. So because of the particular teachers that I've had, I don't do that because it's almost like dishonoring them really. So yeah, that's just me. But again, this comes back to lots and lots of different worldviews. Um, Alexis W. I remember not long ago after I had first spiritual experiences and merging with spirit for the first time, I got sudden interest in learning Hebrew. Don't know who was there, but there is magic indeed. Hebrew is an incredibly interesting language. It really is. You start going into each of the individual letters. I mean, each individual letter is a spirit force by itself. It's not just, we think of A, B, C, D, as just letters that make up words. These are actually, they were created as spiritual entities, and then when you start combining those letters into particular configurations to then create names and words and all such things, you start to, really tap into powers. So it's very interesting. Andrea Vision Dream Castle Carriot Alexis W. Lots of mysticism in the Hebrew alphabet. Yeah, absolutely. Um, The truth, I don't necessarily view it as dishonoring the spirits, but I do think it is an oversimplified modern interpretation of angels and demons. Yeah. Well, we tend to do that, is oversimplify things. We have to because we live in a fast food society, so we have to strip things down to their bare roots and simplify them as much as we possibly can to make it faster, because everything has to become faster. It's a pity. We really need to learn how to slow down, and sit back and really take things in, because we're just constantly at this. Got to keep going faster and faster and faster and faster, and just don't keep up anymore. Um, Most interesting. Rahab is pretty territorial with my contemplation of other angels. There's some he doesn't mind, like the Watcher, Bezaliel, and Uriel. But whenever I consider which angels I might have similarities to, he very strongly interjects himself, reminding me that Rahabiel is a thing. That might be a completely different thing, though. Don't know. All right. Okay. Little less than 10 minutes left. Definitely got to pop off tonight. I need to go and grab some food and whatnot before I do the workshop. Loiston said possibly, but what I understand it is etymologically the same. Rahab has been a god, demon, angel, and monster depending on the time period, and I get the sense he likes the confusion it that causes. Probably. I think a lot of them do. Um, is Rahab by any chance a trickster spirit? 'Cause you'll probably find that's part of their game as well. They like the confusion. Kasim, okay, have a good one. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you next week. Thanks for joining. Um, yeah, I'm going to start wrapping up now. That was a very good chat today, though. I enjoyed that. All right. So quick fill in what's coming in the week. Um, Workshop today. I'm going to actually stop any bookings just now, so it's going to be closed anyway. Tomorrow is Obsidian Veil live ritual. Get on the Patreon Obsidian Veil tier if you want to be part of that. It's like a live ritual that I do once a month for cleansing and protection. That's Monday. Tuesday is the Brew and Bubble live. No video on this Wednesday. Thursday is we're going to talk about Biddy Early, which is a character from the 1700s on Hedge and History show. And then otherwise, I'll see you next Sunday in the Covenstead. Oh, wait, stuff came through. Let me see what happened. Lotus, not that I know of. He is usually associated with primordial abyss. Chaos in the cosmological sense. Okay. Um, Kerry Lee, someone asked earlier how you do spells, and I thought that it at present, I don't do spells. I just speak. There is that. I mean, you get a lot of people who do enjoy doing spell work. I've done it in the past. I do enjoy doing spell work. Um, you could even consider the creation of a servitor to be spell work. I think that when we do spell work, we actually do create a thought form, which we then send off to do the whatever it is, no matter what spell you're doing. Um, but yeah, we kind of like build relationships and we make exchanges. You know, you do this for me, I'll give you this, that type of thing. That's kind of how spirit works, as opposed to something like maybe an energy model or something like that. So there's a difference between the different models as well. We should probably actually talk about those one week again. Are the five different models that Frater UD spoke of? There was also the eight powers that somebody spoke of in regards to witchcraft. I have to pull that up as well. All right. Anyway, thank you everybody. Let's just see if there's anything here. Agatha doing a workshop next. What's that? So today is the creating a familiar spirit workshop. Those workshops repeat every 4 months. But that's today's one. Yeah. Have a good one. All right. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you next week. Cheerio for now.